day he showed himself unto them. I done read that. Verse 27, I'm sorry. But he that did his neighbor wrong thrust him away, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge over us? Wilt thou kill me as thou didst the Egyptian yesterday?
Oh, man.
And so, yeah.
So now Moses is scared.
Right. Because what if they go tell?
Yeah.
That,
He's been found out, so.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time till they.
Right. I've kind of infiltrated the Egyptians, been an Israelite, and if they go tell that I've killed the Egyptian, they're going to know that I'm taking my family over.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's all mirrored to something that, comes down the pike a little ways.
Right.
So Moses flees. In verse 29, then fled Moses at his saying, and was a stranger in the land of Midian, where he begat 2 sons. And when 40 years were expired, there appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai an angel of the Lord in the flame of fire in a bush. Of course, we know this is the story of the burning bush.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, there's something here that I'm just going to pitch out and not get into a whole lot. But I
don't know what you're going to say, but I've been on this as well. And I don't know what you're going to say because we haven't talked about this. So I don't know. I'm curious.
You see, Moses fled for 40 years. Mm-hmm. Now, we're going to see this 40 years in two other places in this 40 again.
It's 40, yeah.
One of them, of course, being the time that they were in the wilderness.
Right.
Which, every bit of this is a picture to me of the battle between good and evil, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Yeah.
I mean, and you see the good, flee or get theirself out of the will of God for this amount of time. Of course, you go on down to the children of Israel when they're led out of Egypt. They spent 40 years in the wilderness because they're murmuring and complaining. Then you flip over to the one that we're pointing all this to, and we'll see that from that spot of actually locking himself in on doing the will of the Father, we see that 40. But what we see here and in the next depiction of it is 40 years. We see him do in 40 days what they failed to do in this 40-year period of time.
Yeah.
Which to me is just a mirror for us to look at and understand. Moses, of course, after 40 years, God appears to him again, as we see right here in this burning bush. The children of Israel, 40 years, we know that everybody at a certain age and older never got into the promised land because of the murmuring and complaining. But then you get to the gospel side of it, and you find that Jesus done in 40 days, and on top of that, he actually come out of the wilderness, according to the Bible, full of the Spirit of God.
Yeah.
And so you kind of see this flip, and how, and of course, as we read on, we'll find that Stephen does this flip too to show them. But it just stood out to me, that 40 and 40, and looking at that.
That's exactly right. That's cool.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something else to kind of keep a watch on as we go through. This angel of the Lord, that started intriguing me, and as we get into future text right here, it's going to bring out something so interesting.
Yes.
That's just going to open my mind up to so many things. So
yes.
You go right ahead.
Yeah. Well, and I think you shared that with me. I'll just say there's a whole lot more to this burning bush than just a burning bush.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. Okay, you got something else?
No, sir.
All right, in verse 31. When Moses saw it, he wondered at the sight. Now, this is the burning bush. And as he drew near to behold it, the voice of the Lord came unto him, saying, I am the God of thy fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. Then Moses trembled and durst not behold. So, this voice comes out of this bush.
Okay.
Yes.
It was an angel of the Lord that we just recognized that he's the angel of the Lord, right?
Right.
Well, look what it says then. The voice of the Lord came unto him. Is there 2 in there? All right. And he says, I am the God of thy fathers. the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac. This is clearly God
Right.
speaking.
Right.
So just keep that in mind, because that's
Yes.
kind of mysterious as we move on.
Yeah, well, you're right, and we're going to find that this angel, of course, if we go back just a little bit, we'll find that Abraham actually was approached
Yes.
in the like manner.
Yep.
With these angels.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you're going.
I want to
with
get
this.
into that
Yes,
a little bit.
Yes.
So, but my real good text to get that kicked off is on down the road. But yes, I do want to get that.
But yes, and you're exactly right. In my opinion, there's a little more to this burning bush than just the burning bush.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. You got something else?
No, sir.
Kind of excited to hear you.
Well, I'm probably going to let everybody down, but this is just my train of thought.
Well, no. And I'm pretty sure I know where you're going with this. And I'd have to say, I agree with you. I mean,
Well, don't say that yet, because I may train wreck this thing.
well,
You go right ahead.
I'll go ahead and throw
I've been
my.
known to do that,
Well,
you know.
I'll throw my hat in a circle and say I'll ride
folks,
down with the ship.
If you see him looking over at me going, you know I've train wrecked it.
Oh, no. No, I feel pretty confident I know where this is going. But it's good. And again, if it's going the direction I think you're going with it, I see the same thing there. But verse 33, I'm anxious now to get down there to your verse. Then said the Lord to him, put off thy shoes from thy feet, for the place where thou standest is holy ground. I have seen the affliction of my people, which is in Egypt, and I have heard their groaning, and I am come down to deliver them. And now come, I will send thee into Egypt. So this voice comes out of this bush and reveals itself just like you said. I'm God, and I have seen. And if you notice, it's repeated twice there in verse 34. I have seen, which tells me that God, this angel, is wanting to reiterate and let him know, I never once forgot my people, because I think that's something that's really important for us today to keep in mind. No matter how the situation looks, God is not going to forsake us. I mean, no matter what the situation looks like, He's going to be there. And that kind of stood out to me, in looking over that. He mentioned that twice for a reason.
I didn't notice that, but that's really good.
And in verse 35, this Moses, whom they refused, saying, who made thee a ruler and a judge, the same did God send to be a ruler and a deliverer by the hand of the angel, which appeared to him in a bush. So
he keeps talking about this angel thing. I mean, that keeps coming up. And I think there's a purpose in that. Go right ahead.
Yes, and I agree. But, of course, with all of this, I feel like that what Stephen's trying to do here is to get them to understand, even as then, they did not see Moses as being their deliverer. Could it not be possible that you, as these, religious rulers, not see the type and shadow that was sent?
Absolutely.
And don't you think that's what he's trying to get? And I feel like that's why he's mentioning this angel.
I do too.
Because it's important.
Yeah.
All right. So now, you got something else?
No, sir.
Okay. Verse 36. He brought them out after that he had showed wonders and signs in the land of Egypt and in the Red Sea and in the wilderness 40 years. So, again, we know the story. Verse 37. This is that Moses which said unto the children of Israel, a prophet shall your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me, and him shall ye hear. So Stephen now is actually going back and quoting something that Moses had prophesied. And again, all of this is building for a specific reason. And so there was a prophet that Moses told them about that would come in the future. And verse 38, this is he that was in the church.
Wow. That's odd language,
It
right?
is, ain't it? Mm-hmm. In the wilderness, huh? You know, it kind of makes you think that maybe this thing started rolling back a little sooner than what we thought it was rolling.
Absolutely. He's drawing the same conclusion that you and I have drawn. The church in Israel
Are the
are
same.
the same.
They are the same.
And that proves that's how Luke, who wrote the book of Acts, is viewing this.
Yes. Yeah.
That's his train of thought right there.
That is.
Because there's no other way you can look at that.
There's not. I mean, you know, and it's not a typo.
No, he knows what he's talking
Right.
about.
So, and for the sake of, I'm going to back up and read it one more time. This is verse 38. This is he that was in the church in the wilderness with the angel, which spoke to him in the Mount Sinai, and with our fathers, who received the lively oracles to give unto us. So now, if I'm catching this right, and just like what you said, you know, not only is he referring to the children of Israel as the church, but he's also making another tie. And that other tie is he's drawing Jesus into every single bit
Yes.
of this. You know, the burning bush, you know.
I think, I'm going to tell you just what I think. I think, and I could be way off here, but this is what I think. I think that that Stephen here is trying to get across the angel that we all know about, that we've heard about, was actually Jesus Christ.
Jesus. The place in
Before
the
he had
rock.
actually been born in the flesh,
Yes.
this was his role. And I got really interested in that, and I've got several texts here that puts this angel in the place of God. Now, we know that God is sovereign, right?
Right. Sure.
But Jesus, when he was on earth in his ministry, actually called himself God.
Right.
He is God in the
He is.
flesh.
Yeah.
And so, if he thought it not robbery to call
Right, to
himself
be
God,
equal with- right.
to be equal with God,
Yes.
then it makes sense as to why the angel can speak as God. Right? Are you
I agree.
tracking that one?
Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
and so I just want to read just a few, if we're not in
Oh, no,
a
absolutely.
big rip here, I just want to just kind of catch a few things that's so interesting. And we've already read about Moses and the burning bush. That's in Genesis or Exodus. And I mean, I've got a bunch here, but you know, lots of times the angel of the Lord stands in for God. He is actually God's mouthpiece, and
Right.
he presents himself as God.
Right, yes.
And we got Genesis chapter 16. This is when Hagar is out. She runs away.
Right.
Angel of the Lord appears, and she receives commandments from the angel of the Lord. Well, that hardly seems like an angel's role, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, all right, and I just want to bring up a couple of things. It says the angel over here in Judges chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. It says the angel actually brought Israel out of Egypt. Okay? So we can tie that into all, you know, I mean, we can go for hours on this. I don't want to spend a great deal of time.
No, because you've done sparked something in my mind, so you better go ahead and.
All right, now I'm going to take us to Genesis. This is a very interesting passage right here in Genesis chapter 48. Let's just read that. I think that deserves reading. Genesis chapter 48. And I'm going to show you something pretty profound right here that I just, you know, I mean, it's easy to just look over this stuff. In verse 16. All right, let's go. Let's start in verse 15. All right, let's start in 14. I'm sorry. And Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and the left hand was upon Manasseh's head, guiding his hands wittingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn. Okay? And he blessed Joseph and said, God, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac did walk, the God which fed me all of my life, long unto this day, and the angel which redeemed me from all evil. Bless the lads, let my name be named on them, and the name of my fathers Abraham, Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. But did you catch what he said?
Yes.
The angel redeemed me from evil.
Yes. Well,
Now, that's hardly just an average angel's job.
look at how that is capitalized.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, and of course, now I know this has been, rewritten but there had to be something in that this angel was capitalized, because, it's only a name or, God or Jesus that we see, that's referenced in this manner.
Right.
And of course, and you mentioned that about leading them out of Egypt. And of course, Christ was that pillar of fire by night and that cloud by day.
Right. While we're on that subject, let's just go to Judges chapter 2 right quick, and I can't believe I just absolutely nailed that one. Judges chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. And the angel of the Lord came up from Gilgal to Bochim, and said, I made you to go up out of Egypt, and have brought you unto the land which I swear unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you. Angel of the Lord
Had a covenant with them.
How's that work? And you shall make no league with the inhabitants of the land. You shall throw down their altars, but you shall not obeyed my voice. But ye have not obeyed my voice. Why have you done this? Therefore I also said, I will not drive them out from before you. They shall be as thorns in your sides, and their gods shall be a snare unto you. Now, that sounds like God language. That sounds like God talk.
Yes.
But we remember that's the angel of the Lord speaking.
That's the angel.
Okay? So why would he have authority to speak like that?
Well, maybe that's the same one that we know of that makes the statement, I and my Father are one.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, and of course, and I know there could possibly be, speculation with that, but we know from the New Testament and from Jesus talking about that cloud that passed before them, and it plainly says he was that cloud,
right,
and he was that pillar of fire.
Right.
That place that Moses found, that place in the rock. That was Christ. All of this stuff is told to us in through New Testament scriptures. Again, the angel that Jacob wrestled with.
Yes.
You look at Abraham, the three angels that approached Abraham, and told him he was going to conceive. That we know when Sarah laughed and Abraham did. Every bit of that.
Well, what's interesting right there is there were three angels. Okay, that came and talked to Abraham. But when you see what the events unfolded down in Sodom and Gomorrah, there were only two angels. So what happened to the third one? You know what I think? I think Jesus was that third one.
I do.
I really do.
I mean, I do.
Because they went down to destroy that city. Now, Jesus is not a destroyer.
Right.
He came to seek and save that which is lost.
Yes, he's the direct.
So he has a different role than destroyer angels,
Right.
And so I feel like that Jesus came with those angels to pronounce, prophesy of what was going to happen down here among, other things, and talk with Abraham about all this situation. And I think he exited the scene.
Yes, I agree. But because every way that you look at the story of Abraham, you see a depiction of God.
Yeah.
I mean, the sacrifice of his son.
Yeah.
All of the things that we see with Abraham. We see that picture. And yes, there's not a doubt in my mind that the wording of this is not a coincidence.
I agree.
It's trying to get us to see. And I feel like a lot of these stories, just like you were mentioning there with that church, Stephen is trying to get them to let their mind go back to all these prophecies and all these things that they hold so true to, and get them to see and understand the very Jesus that they hung on a cross was in every bit of this.
That's what he's trying to reveal.
Yes.
That's exactly right. In Genesis 32, let's see here, verse 24. Okay, and this is where Jacob wrestles with this man. Okay,
Right.
All right. He's called a man here in this.
Right.
It said, and Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he saith, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. All right, so we're seeing this man, but it's not a man, because this man has the power to change his name.
Right.
And so this is obviously something greater.
Right.
And if you go to Hosea chapter 12, verse 4, Hosea actually identifies this man as an angel. Okay? So again, what kind of power does an angel have that he can speak for God and change this man's name and change it to Israel of all names?
Every Old Testament encounter that you find similar to that, where that name change is, if you go back and you look in Revelation, you'll find, and I believe it's in Revelation, you'll find that there's actually another picture that we see painted that starts to talk about these new names. That there's a new name, and I think maybe the way that it's worded, it's in the palm of his hand or something. Well, when you look at that, it's actually a picture of salvation, and it's talking, and we see that with Saul. We know Saul, started to Damascus as Saul, but after his encounter with the Lord, his name was changed. You see, salvation is directly tied over and over and over again to this name change. And of course, to me, what I'm seeing here is it's actually showing this death of the old man, that this new man can resurrect, just like we talked about in the book of Romans, how salvation is depicted.
Right.
That, the old man died, the new man's resurrected, and it's such a transformation that in the eyes of God, God don't remember the old man. He actually gives that old man a new name. And we see this over and over and over with these encounters.
Yeah.
So, yes, I agree with you. I mean, to me, this authority is an authority that only comes from Jesus and from the Father. So,
All right, and I'm going to take you one more place, and there's a multitude of these. I mean, I'm just picking out the high spots.
Yeah.
There's a multitude of these, but in Exodus 23, verses 20 and 21. All right, so I'm going to read you this, and this is, they still haven't conquered, all the lands leading up to the promised land. They're still out in, wandering. And he said, behold, I send an angel before thee. This is God speaking. I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. And we just, talked about how, beware of him and obey his voice. Listen to this. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him.
How does Revelation portray Jesus as having a name? And he says in his name was the Word of God.
So the advice here is don't provoke this angel, because he will not pardon yours.
Who else? And we know from the Gospels, they came and asked Jesus. They said, who but God can forgive sin? And of course, we know the story how Jesus had they had let the man down through the roof.
Yeah.
And Jesus had said, "Son, thy sins be forgiven."
Yeah.
Of course, we've talked about this. He never let him down. They never let him down through that roof to hear thy sins be forgiven.
Right.
And they let him
Amen.
down to have him healed.
Yeah.
So Jesus, we see right there, of course, and there's several things with that, but the one is he's tying the forgiveness of sin with the healing of the body. Well, they begin to murmur, well, who but God can forgive sin? Who's this man think he is that he can forgive sins? It's blaspheming. And he looks and he says, which is easier to say? Thy sins be forgiven, or take up thy bed and walk? And then he turns and he says, but that you will know that the Son of Man has the power on earth to forgive sins. He looks back at the lame man and he says, take up thy bed and walk.
Right.
So again, just what you're reading there.
Yeah.
We're seeing Jesus
Yeah.
back here.
Yeah.
And don't you think?
And I think that's what he's trying to do. He's
It
drawing
is.
on all this knowledge that he knows
Yes.
they possess.
Right.
They can't deny what he's saying is true. But they're adding this element that Jesus was all in the mix here.
Right.
And I want to take us one more place before we dive off to the future here. There's something else so interesting that ties into this. Where do we get, where did they get the angel of the Lord? Why is Jesus called an angel here? That's pretty mysterious. Okay?
Right.
So if you go back to the garden, man, there's so much magic in that garden
Yeah.
that we've looked over so
Yes.
many times. All right, so Genesis 1, God plants trees in a garden, okay? And so these trees, we just imagine in our mind as trees
A tree.
that bear fruit. And in this garden, the two main characters is
A
the
tree of life.
Yeah, and tree of knowledge of good and evil. All right, so these are the focus points of that garden as far
Right.
as the trees go.
Right.
And so we imagine in our earthly mind, in our carnal mind, that we're actually talking about a tree.
Right.
If you go to Ezekiel 31, if you go to Ezekiel 31 and you start reading about God's judgment upon Israel, and he says to them, who are you like, Pharaoh of Egypt? Who are you like? And so God is going back into time and remembering trees that he had planted in the garden. And you know what he says? He gets to talking about this great tree that exalted himself higher than any of the other trees. But he was fallen. But when his fall came, the earth shook, and all the other trees that were with him in that garden fell as well. Now, what he's talking about here is Satan
Right.
and these fallen angels, the angels that sinned in
Right.
Genesis 6. All right?
Absolutely.
And so what we're trying to draw out here is if angels are trees,
Right. Then we look in the Garden of Eden,
yeah.
and we know Jesus actually said that he was that tree of life.
And so trees are angels, okay?
Right.
And so it's safe to say that Jesus, being that tree of life, like you're saying,
Right.
was a type of angel. Now,
Right.
this is in the Hebrew Elohim.
Yeah.
All right, and so there's the Elohim, which is God.
Right.
But then there's lesser Elohim,
Right.
which are anything spiritual, any spiritual being
Right.
is
Outside of
considered
God.
Elohim.
Right.
All
Yes.
right. So you have the Elohim, and then you have little Elohim.
Right.
So in other words, you have God, then you have smaller gods.
Right.
Okay.
And the one of which is actually a begotten.
Form of God.
Right.
Yes. And he is a special kind of
Yes. Right.
of angelic being here.
Yes.
He is very special in this garden. He's the tree of life,
Right.
but he's still a tree
Yes.
at this point. And
Right.
so, and what made him special is, these other angels or trees are referred to as sons of God. But now he is the only begotten Son of God.
Right.
So he carries a special title.
Right.
So he's not like other angels.
Yes.
He is,
Right.
he is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's the direct image of the Father.
Absolutely.
I mean, he
is just like you said. He and the Father are one.
right. He told Thomas or Philip, one of them, that he begins to talk about I'm the way and all that, and
Yeah.
then they start questioning, and one of them says something, and he says, "Have I been with you so long,